So here we are at the International School of Dusseldorf in the far west of Germany. It's a school that's been established for 50 years. We're an IB World School. Our students are a mix of many nationalities, about 30% German perhaps, 40 other nationalities, and they nearly all do the whole diploma program. So after the initial reflection session and the interim reflection session, the third formal reflection session is the Viva Voce.
As far as you were concerned, what were the best parts of the experience for you?
The Viva Voce is the final act, if you like, of the extended essay. A 20 to 30 minute session between the supervisor and the student. Right at the very end of the process, the supervisor discusses with the student the learning process they have gone through, and the student is given opportunities to reflect on their learning.
So was there a point where you had to make a decision about whether to change the idea or whether to stick with the idea but look for better sources?
You said one of the things you struggled with was cutting words. How did you actually deal with that?
The way the supervisor sets the questions, it encourages the students to, and maybe supports them to look at their strengths and weaknesses, the difficulties that the students had at the various stages of the essay.
Were there big disappointments along the way?
I think the biggest disappointment I had was when I had to change my topic completely because I couldn't find an advertisement that I was satisfied with.
Could you imagine yourself having a career as a researcher after doing this kind of work?
Actually, I was thinking of going into research later in life, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to try it out. And after doing this, I definitely think that the extended essay as a whole and the experimentation process in a way helped me to recognize that things aren't always going to go as planned.
The ability to ask the right questions, first of all, open-ended questions for which there are many possible answers. Also to give them the time and the space to answer.
When I finished the extended essay and looked back, I saw that it wasn't actually as much of a hassle as I thought in the beginning. So when I get some work in uni or at work, I now know that if I sit down and do it, then it's not that big of an obstacle really.
What have you learned about you as a learner?
It's a learning experience in itself. They are asked to think about their learning as it progressed, the learning of content and the learning of skills.
Moreover, I really realised not just that I'd learned those skills, but that I realised how good I was at some of them and how I really need to improve in others.
Before I never really understood the value of reflections, but now I can see why the IB gets us to do these reflections, because otherwise I would have finished the extended essay and never thought about it again. But this way I've really learned what I have learned, so it's consolidated my learning really.
A successful Viva Voce, the end product is no longer the essay on paper, it's what's happened in the student's mind, and the growth that they've undergone by carrying out the process sort of comes to the fore for them.
So what kind of skills have you picked up in completing the extended essay that you think will be helpful later on?
After the Viva Voce is over, the student goes away to complete the final section of the RPPF, which is they're reflecting on their processes. People should not forget that. There is assessment involved here. It does bring closure, it should be a celebration, but now it's an absolute requirement that it is done. And the results of the Viva Voce, which are seen in the RPPF, are critical for the assessment of criterion E.
As a teenager, you don't really want to think about that, you don't really value that or care really about what you learnt. But if you come to university interviews or later job interviews or whatever really, people always ask you what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, what did you learn from this? And I think it's really valuable to actually take a step back and consider what did you learn? How did this teach you to cope with different situations later on? What are your weaknesses?
The research skills, timekeeping, prioritising, making sure they're on top of all their studies, all these traits will without doubt stand them in good stead at university and beyond in the workplace. So proud of all our students here. The students that come out of the extended essay in particular have done an amazing job, and they've grown as individuals and as learners, and they should be proud of their achievement, and of course we are too as a school.